Hello, 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 hello. How y'all doing this evening? Hey, it's your boy. We here. We here for a special show. Special Father's Day show. Um, hey, as most of you know, I'm Daryl. The owner, proprietor, visionary, whomever you want to call me, associated with this podcast, the Daryl Show. Oh man. Good evening. How's everyone doing? I know it's been a minute, and I'm only doing this one show. We're just popping in for this one day, and just to talk about dads and honor dads and things like that. Then I'm back out of here. At the end of the show, I'll let you know what my next moves are. I'll let you guys know where I'll be, what I'll be doing, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever. Okay. First of all, the air conditioner is out in Summerco Studios. Okay. But I have a fan going, so if you guys can hear background noise, somebody let me know in the comments if you can hear background or not, fan in the background or not. But as you can tell, I ain't got no glasses on. That's how hot it is. Uh, I'm here. I'm only gonna be here for a short period of time because these studio lights are hot. Okay, all right. First of all, good evening. I hope all is well. Hope you guys took the time out to celebrate your fathers or your children's fathers or your husbands, your boyfriends, your um, fiancés, whomever is a father figure to you. I hope you guys took the time out to celebrate them today. Uh, as a father of, five big ones, a whole starting five, I gotta be honest. Father's Day is not my favorite holiday. I almost hate Father's Day if I'm to be honest about it. Not because I don't enjoy being a dad or anything like that. It's just so much that surrounds Father's Day. It just gets on my nerves. I didn't realize it for a very long time until earlier today. Well, this weekend actually. How much I almost despise Father's Day. Like I knew it, but I really didn't know it. And it's not because it's a bad holiday or anything like that. I think it's just for me personally in my own life, everything that came along with being a dad was so tumultuous. To get to this point. Y'all excuse me till I get ready. Um, it was so tumultuous to this point. So I don't really celebrate Father's Day like the normal people. Yes, I get phone calls from my children, things like that. And I really appreciate that. I get text messages and phone calls from friends and all that type of stuff. But Father's Day is not really high on my list. Plus, yesterday was my baby boy's ninth birthday. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to see him. But, his grandmother and his aunt and his big sister was able to see him. So that was good. It's that situation is kind of rough, and one day I'll get a chance to talk about it. But until then, I'm just gonna say, praise God for being here, and I'm thankful for all the dads out there, the natural fathers, the stepfathers, the bonus fathers, the spiritual fathers, whomever. If you fall into the category of a father, I just want to say kudos to you and shout out to you. Let's give you this here and give you this here, give you this here. So, just want to know, I got my brothers Tyrone, Joe, my cousin OC, um, my cousins Damian, Tavares, who else? Shoot, I got so many fathers. My uncle, my boy, Big Mike. Ah man, my boy Carlos, my boy Drew, Todd, man, I got so many fathers in my life, man, that I look up to that I really appreciate. I have, shoot, my own dad, June Moses Williams Jr., aka June. My old head. Shout out to him. Shout out to even shout out to my children's bonus dad. Um, what's that man's name? Uh, James and Wallace. Yeah. Um I'm not one of those guys. I don't hate. I don't I do believe in a I do believe in a I do believe in a village. I think that everybody who's positive can stick something in the pot to help these grow these children up to be responsible adults. I don't have any issues with people um, pouring into my children's lives. I don't, my children are mostly grown now. The only one I have yet left that's a minor is Scooter, and in 9 years, I'll be what 55. He'll be an adult as a young adult as well. So, but but today I would like to speak on behalf of the fathers that don't get the love that they're supposed to get. Everybody knows people celebrates moms, celebrate grandparents, things like that. And sometimes dads go, without being, looked at and things like that. And I can tell you from a father's perspective, it gets heavy. It gets heavy and it gets tedious, tumultuous, all of these things because there's a great deal of responsibility that becomes comes with being a father. I don't think anybody who has never been a father can honestly tell you what it's like to be a dad, to be a father, to show up for human beings because these jokers they come from our bodies, they come from our loins, but man, we can teach and grow these jokers as much as we possibly can, but we don't know who we're gonna get. I've said any video that I've ever been on, whether any just parenting period, you can pour into children, but you never know what you're gonna get with these little jokers. They don't come with instruction manuals, and the best thing to do is just honor God and just give them back to Him and let Him raise them. We just watch over them while He's here. I've been at the point for a very long time where I am that person who allows God to I go to God about my children. I'm like, okay, this is crazy to me. So you tell me how to handle this right here. And I've been like that for a very long time. And it may seem as if though, for somebody like myself, it may seem as if though um, we're not engaged enough. But no, I trust God with my children. I've since the day the first one was born up until the last one was born, I've dedicated every last one of them back to Him. And I just see my brother. He's texted me to a shout out to him. I forgot to mention his name. But I just give all of my children back to God. Now I don't give them back to God and not ever deal with them ever again. No, I'm very hands on. I'm that dad that's in your business. I need to know who this friend is, who that friend is. And I give my boys the truth. I tell my boys, if you're not gonna deal with a woman correctly, just let it go. Be honest. I tell my girls, hey, if this man or young man can't do half of what your dad did, now I don't expect nobody to be like me when it comes to my children. Especially young men. But if they can't do um what your dad does basically, like they can't open the door, if they can't make sure you're good, then this might not be somebody who you want to spend your time with. I'm not against young people doing young people stuff because I understand different generations do different things. But fatherhood is a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, especially and let me say this. If I'm honest, I told my son, I told Daryl Jr., my squatter that lives down the hall. I told him before. I was like, if I was smart, you'd be 6 months old right now. Honestly, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would do it not exactly the same way, but I would do it with the same to get the same children, the same life, but I would do things a little bit differently. As a dad, I would um I would probably find a better career that's more local. I would change my job. I would get a better career that was local, and so that I could be there, so I could be there for the children more. Yeah, my sister. I would probably have children with just one woman. Not knocking anybody, but that's what I would have done. I would have married somebody and just stuck it out, but I didn't. It didn't work out that way. I'm not down on myself. I'm not down on them. It's just that in hindsight, I can see things a little bit clearer now. Um, I would definitely be more financially together before I started having children. Ooh, excuse me. Back when I started having children, man, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But I can honestly say Destiny being my first one, to come from my loins, she really made me grow up. She really made me start looking at really start looking at responsibility as something that I need to take on. Never mind the fact that I was married to her mom. It wasn't until I saw them little brown legs, that brown head, and them and that afro pop out, and them brown legs show up, and I was like, okay, this is really real. This is something that I must take seriously because it's something that I wish I would want to be taken seriously in that role in that area. But thankfully, though, I can honestly say I worked very hard to make sure that my children were they came from different women, but I tried to make sure that they all knew that they belonged to one another. That was the one thing that I worked the hardest at doing, making sure that they knew they belonged to me and they belong to one another. Everybody's last name is a Williams, except the oldest, and everybody's name starts with a D. That was my thing. All of my children, I wanted them to have the initials DLW, and they all got them. And I'm thankful for that. But I would have done something totally different concerning it. I remember like just growing up. I had to grow up with my children. Although I was in my 20s when I had my first one, I still wasn't grown per se to start having children, and that's okay. God has been graceful and gracious towards me and those children. I don't have any issues with the path that I took. Well, I do. I'm not even gonna lie. I do have issues with the path I took. I should have done things in a different manner. Simple as that. And it's not a knock against anybody. That's just the way I think about everything. But because I chose the way that I chose, I'm solid and I'm secure in it because I'm at the point now where, like I said, most of them are grown. I don't have to worry about them anymore like I used to, but not like I used to. I worry about them in a different sense now. Now I don't worry, but I think about them in a different sense now because I can only father them so much at this point. At this point in their lives, I'm more of a coach. I can give them wisdom. I can give them plays. I can do all of that type of stuff. But I have no control over what it is that they do when it comes to these things. Yes, it would be lovely for our children to take our wisdom, take our knowledge, and just roll with it straight off the rip. But we understand how that's not how children grow. Go. My best friend Joe has a saying that he says that it makes all the difference. We were talking one day, and we was just talking about the wisdom that we've had to try to pour in our children. And he says this thing. He's like, man, he's like, there's nothing wrong with buying something that's already in the house. There's nothing like it. He was like, he said, I tell my children, don't buy what the family already has. And he gave me the example. He was like, I go to the grocery store and get a gallon of almond milk, and I get home and find out there's two already in the refrigerator. He's like, that was senseless. It's senseless. And I get the analogy and I understand what he's saying. I try to tell my children, take this free wisdom while you can. Because it may have cost me $100. I don't want it to cost you 1 million or 2 million. I want you to have it for free. And any parent, especially a dad, we would like for our children to take that wisdom and knowledge that we have and hold it close to their hearts. It's in the word. It's biblical. God tells it. Well, it was Solomon who wrote it, but you know, keep my words close to your heart because I tell DJ all the time, Daryl Jr. I'm like, hey, bro, I got a 20 something your head start on you. So the best thing for you to do is just take my word for it. And yes, times have changed. Times are completely different from when they were coming up and from when I was coming up. But I appreciate the fact that I got children that my children are pretty good. I ain't gonna lie. They're not embarrassing. They're not they're not they're not worrisome. They're not bothersome. We got this thing over here in my family on both sides. No news is good news. If I don't hear from you, we good. If I'm hearing from you multiple times a day or multiple times a week, well, the amber flag is going up. There's some caution, but you know that's life. We that works for us, and hopefully, you know, we're still close. We're not people that just hate one another or anything like that. We're gonna talk trash. We're gonna talk trash, and we're gonna We're gonna clown you. We're gonna do all of these things, but it's gonna be from a place of love. You're not going to find us being malicious towards one another or anything like that. I have a motto between me and my children, and my daughter Destiny swears up and down she don't remember it, but we encourage each other when we're down, and we celebrate each other when we're up. That's what we do. There's no big eyes, no little U's. This is something that I try to instill in them. I remember growing up, they had before this is pre-scooter. I gotta make sure I put that in there because that makes a huge difference. Pre-scooter, I would have them when I would come off the road. The first thing I would do is go gather my children, and I would have them, and I would say, what would you guys like to eat? And they'll have all these different things, and I tell them, I was like, hey, if you can't agree, I'm gonna pick. And whenever that happens, somehow they always come up with an agreement on what it is that they want to eat. So it worked. And I always do that and say that because I want them to always be able to talk to one another, communicate with one another, rationalize with one another, and be able to make a decision. I have 5 children. So when I leave this earth, I'm gonna have a will. I'm gonna have all of these different things, but there may be some decisions that they may have to make before I get here. And I believe in having an odd number of children. So I'm not having any more, but if I did have more, I would need to have 2 more. So, but I'm not having any more. So I believe in having an odd number of children because I want them to be able to vote. It's just my sister and I. And I guess Kiara would get a vote when it comes to my mom, but right now it's split down the middle. I guess I don't know, but yeah, but it's life. Um, but being a dad is being a dad is rough, especially when you're not married to their mothers. It's rough. Um, Being a dad is taxing. I've seen times, I've seen seasons where I just could not show up. I could not be who it is that I felt like they needed me to be. And I've seen times where like it's gotten rough. Like I'm that guy. I tell anybody I'm that guy. I'll work 14 jobs if I have to. I do all I need to do, and I'm getting older. I feel myself getting more and more tired easier. Uh, I feel myself getting more tired easier. But if I had to, I could work 50,000 jobs to make sure that my children are taken care of. But as a dad, I think one of the things that a lot of people really don't understand about being a dad is if you can't take care of your family, if you can't take care of your children, it messes with your mind. And people really don't understand how tough that is. Because we're living in a world today where, um, yes, it's good to have the inner things. It's good to have the stuff on the inside. And it's good to be prayerful. It's good to be all of these different things. Yet at the end of the day, you still have to show up physically. You still have to provide meat, provide bread, provide lights, provide water, things like that. And if you get to a place as a man, a grown man, as a father, it messes with you. And it could be no fault of your own. And I'm not talking about the quote unquote deadbeats. I'm not talking about the absentees. I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm talking about a man who gets up every day, strives to do what it is that needs to be done to take care of his family, and may come in contact. I may come into a situation like myself. I remember it was August 20th, 2011, and my children and I were headed to a church service over in Opelika. We had spent the night at Joseph and Sharika's, and we were doing. It was August, and we were doing a youth event, a back to school youth event. And so we were driving up Highway 29 to get to the church. I had my Ford Explorer that was paid off. Had just bought them tires and then windshield wiper blade. Well, anyway, this lady was texting and driving, and she hit us head on. She hit me head on, and it broke my leg and ankle. It was a real bad accident, and I don't think it was an accident that broke my leg and ankle. It was me trying to control the situation because I slammed my foot down so hard on the brake. Because I didn't break my left leg and ankle, which that's the side that she hit me from. I broke my right leg and ankle, and that's the one that put me out of work for a few months. But I remember when the accident happened, and I remember hearing my children cry. I remember the glass. I remember the smoke. I remember all of those things, and I remember this man was at the truck door. He was like, I was like, I remember I had passed out, and I said, I came back to. I said, "Can you help me?" He was like, "Help you do what?" I was like, "Help me get out." I was like, "This door is jammed. And I can't get out. I need to get to my babies." They were all in the back seat. They were all in the back seat. Sugar Mama was uh Sugar Mama was in the middle. Destiny was on the passenger side. I think DJ was right behind me. Or DJ and Destiny were swapped. I can't remember. Anyway, I hear them crying. I hear them, going on, and that dad in me was standing up, ready to do what I had to do. So I said, "Could you please help me?" I'm like, "Could you please help me get out of this truck? This door is jammed. I can't open it." He's like, "You want to get out?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to get out." And so he helped me by opening the door. And um, as I got out, I tried to stand up and fell straight to the ground. I fell to the ground, and I kept saying, I was like, I got to get to my babies. I got to get to my babies. I'm hearing the screaming and the yelling and things like that. He was like, "Man, he's like, you're not gonna be able to stand up." I was like, "I really need to get to my babies," and I just so happened to pass out again. Next time I woke up, I was in the back of an ambulance, and Noah, shout out to Noah. I forgot to shout out to Noah. Noah was cutting my jeans, trying to see what was up with my leg and ankle. And I just kept hearing my children. It was so bad, but I went to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. It was at 20th. That was the day before Destiny's birthday. I went to the hospital, and they told me that I had to have surgery the next day. I ended up getting 3 screws into my ankle, 2 on the inside, 1 on the outside. And all I could think of was my children. And I was like, and the first thing that hit me was I can't go to work. And that accident put me in a real deep depression because I could not go to work. I could not take care of my children. That was the one thing that's what happened. That's what I felt. One of the women at my church, one of the girls at my church, asked me. She was like, "Did you ever feel like you were afraid that you weren't gonna walk again?" I was like, "No, I never had that in my mind." The one thing that popped into my mind was that I couldn't take care of my children. I could not take care of my children. That weighed on my mind for a very long time. I was out of work from August 20th all the way until like November, the last week in November. I think I went back to work right after Thanksgiving. So like the first week of December. By that time, my job was gone. My job had lost the contract, and it was gone. So I had to find a new job. People had to carry me around. People had to drive me around and things like that. I had zero independence, and that was the one thing that really drove me to a very deep depression because I could not take care of my children. And I think about that life until this day. I think about not being able to take care of my children, or not being able to have something for them, or not being able to have something. I don't have a wife, but I want one. And I don't that's the one thing that if I was to be afraid, that would be the one thing I'd be afraid of, being looked at as somebody who can't provide. Um as somebody who can't provide. That's the one thing that bothers me more than anything. Um Here recently, um, I'll tell you why in a minute, and at the end of the show. But here recently, I was, I was at work, and I got an email that really threw me off, and all I could think about was, but I got my child, I got my son here, that's all I can think about. It always goes to me like my ex wives. They can tell you I was probably the worst husband you can probably ever come across. And I'm honest about that now. I'm not a slave to it anymore. But nobody on this earth can tell you that I was a bad father. Nobody could tell you on this earth that I didn't show up for my children. If I had to, if one of them say I need a physical for sports, and I'm in Texas, then I would make an appointment. I would drive all the way home to Georgia to make sure they had that physical. If one said I'm hungry, if one said I need shoes for this, or I need this for that, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it's taken care of. And it's not because, um, and I can tell you why. I can tell you exactly why. And we've already worked this out. It's because my dad didn't do it for me. That's what it is. No disrespect to him. I love him. Him and I have already had this conversation. Um, he didn't do it for me. He didn't show up for me. He was absent, and I can't tell you why because I don't know why, but I can tell you this: 2004, 2003, no, end of 2003 or 2000, no, 2004, 2004, springtime. I had started driving trucks in July of 2003, and so I'm almost at the 22-year mark. Shout out to me. Anyway, but my dad had moved back from Indiana back down to Alabama, and so I had a student. That needed to get to Spartanburg, South Carolina. So I asked my dad. I was like, "Hey, do you want to ride with me?" Because I got part of my motivation to drive trucks was my dad. He was a truck driver when when I was younger. So I was like, and I know he hadn't been in a truck in some years. So I was like, "You want to ride with me?" He was like, "Yeah, why not? I'm not doing anything." It was like a Saturday afternoon, something like that. Spartanburg ain't that far away from Columbus, maybe 3.5 hours or whatever the case may be. So anyway, so we take the student up to Spartanburg or whatever, and then so we driving back, and we come back down the road, bobtail in the truck, bobtail, and so we get around Brazelton or somewhere in there, right? And so we get around Brazelton, and I'm just driving. We chilling, listening to the CB radio, listening to the regular radio, just kicking it, whatever the case may be. You know, had no expectations. It was just a ride. That's all it was. And so this is the one thing that I'll never forget about my dad. My dad looked over to me. He said, "Hey, son, I'm sorry. I apologize. And I'm proud of you." That's all he said to me. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't looking for it. That's what I got. And he gave me that. And honestly, that fixed our relationship up to a certain point. That fixed our relationship. Everything that he may have done or did not do growing up, it was fixed for me in that moment. I didn't ask for it. I didn't petition for it or anything like that. Um, but those few words right there made a huge difference in my life. And the only thing my dad ever asked me for growing forward was the only thing he's ever asked me for was to make sure that I could bring his grandchildren around. That's it. That's all he ever asked me for. I never tried to um I never tried to beat him up or anything like that. I never tried to confront him or anything like that. And I pray that people who don't have their fathers around can get that. Like I needed that closure, and I didn't know I needed it at the time. But it wasn't until I had gotten by myself and I was able to really think. And I want to say I probably broke down crying, but this was so many years ago now. It's over 20 years ago at this point. But it was something that I needed. I really hate when I see some of my friends, I see some of the people that I deal with every day, and they have such negative thought patterns and words towards their dads or the children of their fathers or something like that. And I was fortunate enough to get that because again, I never asked for it. But and I never asked for him to be I never asked for him to be absent, nor did I ask for that apology. But I'm thankful for both because honestly, with his absence, it really did something for me growing up. It did. It really helped me to be stronger than I probably would be. And this is honestly any problem that I have with either one of my parents, my mom or my dad, everything that I went through to get to where I am today, I want to go through it again? No. But I'm appreciative of every step that was taken. I always knew that God had me no matter what. I always knew that I would never be alone in this world. Now, psychologically and mentally, it still played a role in my life. It took a toll on me, but at the end of the day, my dad came and he corrected it. He corrected it without me having to jump down his throat or anything like that. I remember one time my dad and I we got into a fight. I was 18 years old at my grandparents' house, and we was at it. And to keep it real, the thing that stopped that fight was my grandfather grabbed his chest. My grandfather, Moses Williams Sr., grabbed his chest, and that right there, and I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do this at my in my grandparents' house. But that was the one thing because Him and I were about to go at it, like for real, for real. But and it came from the resentment of you being absent, and now you're trying to parent me. Not only were you were absent and you didn't talk to me or anything like that. You never made your presence known. You never said I got you no matter what. I never got that from him. But in 2004, all of that was corrected because we got into that scuffle. I call it a scuffle. We got into that scuffle when I was 18, and it was needed. I'm not gonna lie, it was needed. Now I wouldn't suggest anybody blow up at your dad. I wouldn't suggest anybody blow up at your parents, anything like that. But at the end of the day, that was something I think we both needed. And I'm that guy. I'm gonna tell y'all straight up. I'm that guy. I'm a proponent for men fighting. I am. I know I'm saved. God knows I know I'm saved, but I'm a proponent for men fighting at work. I'm a proponent for men fighting on the streets. I am. And sometimes you got to get it off your chest because this testosterone ain't no joke. I'm a proponent for it. Like now, if my children ever feel like they need to handle their business, I'm talking about my boys specifically. All I'm gonna say is put your gloves on and tie your shoes up tight, my boy. I'm just saying, if you ever feel like you need to get something off, you need to run you one. You need your fade. You need your one. I'm ready for you. Don't let this belly fool you, DJ Demarcus in Dallas. Don't let it fool you, cause I'm ready. No, but seriously though, I needed it from my dad, and I didn't know how much I needed it until it happened. Um, he was very humble. He was, I could tell you, he was very sincere, and I pray if my siblings don't have it, I pray that they get it as well. Uh, right now, I called him yesterday because he was busy. He was busy doing his June thing. If y'all know him, y'all know where he was at. He was in the alley down in Pittsview. Shout out to Pittsview. But he was doing his June thing. But I do. I love him. I love both of my parents. I love them equally. Now I know I can't love them the same, but I do love them equally. Shout out to my uncle. For I got uncles who have been father figures to me. Um, man, uh, this is gonna sound weird, but even Joe and Tyrone, I know I see them and I see what they do as men, and they really help. They really help me in my fatherhood repertoire. These are men that don't have natural children of their own, but you can't tell them they're not fathers. And you can't tell me they're not fathers. They got grandchildren, and you know, I love all my friends that are doing real things. So, all in all, being a dad is great. Not gonna lie, it's it's great. I talked to Destiny on FaceTime today. I haven't seen DJ, haven't seen Sugar Mama, haven't heard from Scooter today. I talked to Demarcus on we text each other today. But being a dad is great. I tell anybody this is the best job I could ever have in life. I used to hate Father's Day even more so than I do now because I used to always see bitter women take over. I used to always see bitter women talk about how I'm the mom and the dad. You're not. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. You'll never be a dad. You're a mom who's just being. You just got to do extra work as a mom. I don't tell the guys that I know that have custody of their children that they're having Mother's Day because they're not mothers. I don't. They're just you're a mom doing mom stuff. You making sure everything is straight. You're making sure everything is taken care of because that's what we're here to do. We're here to show up whether the other parent shows up or not. I don't like to see people take over stuff, even in a joking manner, because it's already rough. Dads only get celebrated twice a year, birthdays and Father's Day. Sometimes not even that. But and I'll say this to anybody: if your dad was absent and you have access to him, learn his side of the story as well. That's fair. Learn his side of the story because it may not line up with what your mom said. It may not line up with what your grandparents said or whatever the case may be. Learn his side of the story. There's nothing wrong in that. Go with an open heart and open mind. I encourage people all the time is as speaking from a father's experience, learn his side of the story and and like honestly, I hold my dad accountable. He'll tell you straight up. We've had some hard conversations. I tell him, I'm like, hey man, I don't want my children to remember you this way. I don't want my children to look at you this way. If he if some of the conversations him and I were to ever have, him and I ever had, were to ever make it public, accountability is there. My dad has even told me stuff that I needed. He was like, just because and I heard this directly from him. Just because you come from a particular thing, don't mean you have to be like that thing. Changed my whole life. He did. So I don't discount the wisdom that he has. I don't discount the time that he spent. My dad is he's very talented. My mom is very anointed. And my dad is very talented. Both of them are, to be who it is that they are. But my dad has taught me a lot of stuff. I work on cars just a little bit, not like him, but I've seen my dad take cars, basically look like matchbox sets, and put something together and have you rolling down the street. I've seen the worst parts of my dad. I've seen some of the best parts of my dad. Of course, I would never tell anybody publicly what, him and I have gone through, but just know what we've gone through and to where we are today. I respect everything that happened. I respect his whole life. I do. I'll always honor him. I'll always, because I understand what the Bible tells me, to do it, because honor my father and my mother. That's the only commandment with promise. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I had issues growing up. I had issues growing up. I remember. Oh my goodness. I remember second grade. Well, my parents were still married, and this is so funny. I still tell this story. Second grade, I remember out and school and nobody been out try this at this point. I remember second grade, my teacher, Miss Turner. Shout out to Miss Turner, God rest her soul. JD Davis Elementary. They need to change the name of that school, but anyway, JD Davis Elementary, Columbus, Georgia, Shepherd Drive. I got in trouble for something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was, but back then, and you young people don't understand nothing about this. You get the email now, but I got in trouble, and Miss Turner decides to she wrote my dad a note, because she knew my dad picked me up from school every day. She wrote a note and she stapled it to my shirt. And so she told me, she told me, make sure your daddy get this too. I was like, okay, bet. Now second grade now. So I took that note before I got out the door good. I snatched that note off my shirt. Now I don't know if the staple was still in my shirt or not, but I just know that note wasn't there. That's for doggone show. So I got that note. And so back then you had to get the note signed and brought back to school the next day. So you already got it. So basically, you got in trouble at school, you're gonna get trouble at home, and she confirmed it by your parent's signature on that note, right? Well, I was smart, or at least I thought it was. I decided to take that note, put it in my book bag, got home, and I can't remember, because I remember my parents. One worked third shift, the other one worked first shift. It was vice versa. I can't remember which one was which, but I know my dad picked me up in the afternoon. So I took that note and I signed his name, and what I thought was his name, on that note. Then I took it back to Miss Turner the next day, and I'm like, I'm good. I got to school the next day, and she said, Mr. Williams, did your daddy sign that note? I said, yes, ma'am. And I handed it right to her. Like, I handed it right to her, like he did sign it. She took the note, looked at it, looked at me, and said, okay, cool. She took the note, she put it on the desk. And I'm thinking, boy, your boy done made it. Boy, your boy done made it. I done got through here, man. And I'm going through the school day like it ain't nothing. She pretty much, she set me up. So I go through the school day, and she goes, we getting in line, and so Miss Turner used to have this yardstick. She used to hit us with when we got out of the truck. We got paddlers back then. So I'm standing there in the line, coming outside and get ready to go get in the car. I'm thinking I'm scot free. It's a breeze from this point. Man, that doggone Miss Turner grabbed me coming out that classroom like, come here. I said, oh. We about to go see your daddy. I said, oh my goodness. She took that same note and gave it to him to his hands. I said, oh, she trying to get me killed. But I remember those things from growing up. That's what happened. Honestly, I can't remember the beatdown, so it must not have been that bad. But those are memories that I have from being with my dad. I remember, shoot, I remember everything. I remember a lot of stuff. Some things I'm not going to discuss here, but those are things that I remember from being with my dad. I remember, man, we used to go to racetracks. We used to, I mean, oh man, it's just a lot of stuff. I can't even go through it all right now. I ain't gonna bore y'all with all that stuff. But let me say this though, brothers, and I mean this with my whole heart. If you don't have a relationship with your children, what are you waiting on? I don't want to hear nothing about my baby mama this, my baby mama that. Now I will say, I can say from personal experience, family court is expensive. Is drastically expensive in the state of Georgia. If you're not married to a woman, you have zero rights to your children. Period. This is what it is. Is what it is. It's the law, and nothing we can do about it. And I think there are fatherhood initiatives and things like that. Now, a lot of them are income based. There are fatherhood initiatives around that will help you get to your children. Paying child support does not give you access to your children in Georgia. I don't know how other states work, but I can say no matter what you and the mom have went through, do what you can to be in your child's life. Do what you can to talk to your child. Do what you can to make sure that your child can't say to you, "You weren't there for me." Um, and I'm telling you this from personal experience. I know it's hard, and I know that a lot of pride is there. I know a lot of hurt and anger is there. But brothers, do what you got to do to be in your child's life or children's lives. Please, I'm begging you, because every child needs balance. Young little boys have daddy issues just like young women have daddy issues. We have an opportunity at this point to make sure that we take care of our children and do the very best that we can for our children. It's now, even if you're paying child support or whatever the case may be, no, they need time. They need time. They need to have your touch. They need to have your they need to have your word. They need to know your voice. They need to have you as a person. And ladies, stop making it hard for these men to be fathers. Just because y'all didn't work out, that doesn't give you the right to take a child and hold them hostage. I saw I saw a post earlier where a young lady was talking about how her son's father or whomever boy or children's father didn't have any money, so he couldn't see the children. Children aren't supposed to be bargaining chips. They shouldn't be bargaining chips. They shouldn't be something that you dangle over somebody's head. These are live, living human beings. They have emotions. They have feelings and things like that. Everybody needs to step up. Now, I ain't saying that you got to go back and drop to one knee and tell her you want to be married to her and all this type of stuff. But what I am saying is, excuse me, as a father, as a man, you need to be in your child's life. Make sure you do everything you can to let your child know that you're not a stranger, that you're not somebody that just fly by night or anything like that. Do everything you can. I promise you, it's going to be worth it later on down the road. Fight for your child. Just don't go to jail. Don't argue. Don't fuss. Don't give the woman or the state any reason to keep you away from your child. And I get it. I promise you, I know firsthand that family court is super expensive. It's probably just as expensive as criminal court, having a defense attorney. But please do what you can to be in your child's life. I'm begging, simply because it's going to make a difference. I made a promise to all mine. Andre said it best. I'll be there from the first day of school all the way through graduation. Now, I ain't saying that you got to be like me. I ain't saying you got to be, I'm not super dad at all. Because I've seen some people, some of these guys, I've seen some of these videos, they wake up. Um, I'm good too. I don't need you. I don't need you to go to jail. I appreciate that. I don't need you to go to jail. I've seen some videos where men get up and they they cook breakfast, they drive you to school. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't want to do all that work, and I'll do the shared work. But now, if you're at my house, then I'm gonna do it. But I'm not super dad. I'm not a perfect dad. I'm just a present dad. Um, I talk to my adult children like adults. I treat them like adults. I put them in a position. I do everything I can to put them up in a position to be adults. But I'm begging you, brothers, please take care of your children. Please be in their lives. Don't make it to where they can say my daddy wasn't there. I'm telling you, man, I've seen times where, and I know a lot of us try to overcompensate because our fathers weren't there. A lot of people do. But I'm begging, learn how to balance the life with your children. If you can't talk to them every day, talk to them once a week. Do all that you can. It's not easy. I can tell you that firsthand. It's not easy. It's not. Sometimes it seems like it's more of a drain than anything else. But you know, because I'm telling you, I tried to be a deadbeat with my children. This joker said my license plate memorized. I couldn't run if I wanted to. But real talk though, show up for your kids. Show up for your children. Be there. Find out what they need. Find out what they need. Find out, because there's something in you that they need, and there's something in them that you need. Believe it or not. Don't be abusive. Don't be a butthole. Don't be somebody who's not accountable. Get with some brothers, man. Get some people in your corner, in your area. And I'm not saying spoil your children to death, because that's not realistic. That's not something that you want to do with children or anybody for that matter. Simply because you're not going to be able to maintain it. Hard seasons are going to come, and I don't care if you're filthy rich or whatever the case may be. You're not going to be able to maintain it, and you don't want to create a monster out here either. But find a way to be there for your babies, please. I'm begging you, please, ladies. Celebrate these men. A father needs encouragement more than anything else. We rarely ever get gifts, at least good gifts anyway. We get the same thing: a tie, some socks, something to barbecue with, some tools or something like that. But celebrate these men. Fathers are very important. If you're a dad and you're absent, get on your post, man. Do what you got to do. And women, I gotta say this to y'all: if these men decide to show back up, don't hinder them from being with their children. Don't. It's not worth it. This isn't about you. This is about this child that y'all produced together. Everybody has to grow up. Everybody has to be adult when it comes to it. Everybody. So God bless y'all. Now, I know y'all see me in my studio, and I said that I was having a season finale, and I am. I did, but I only want to talk about dads today. Okay, but I can say my next show is not going to be for a while. Okay, it's not going to be for a while because the owner of my current house decided to sell. I got an email late last month saying that I had 30 days to vacate. And I'm telling you guys this for accountability purposes because I love being here. I love this podcast and things like that. But I have to move. We have to move. DJ Daryl Jr. He just moved here a couple months ago, and he just started a job here recently. And it was either between staying where I am or coming back to Georgia, or whatever the case may be. But I decided I prayed and things like that, talked to God, and I decided to remain here and just move into a different house. I'm moving into another house and one that I plan to purchase. So from today, and it'll probably be a few more weeks. I don't know how long it's going to take. I was talking to Tyrone about it, and he said something. He said, "Well, man," he said, one thing I know about you, you're resilient. You're gonna make sure it works out." I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate the encouragement, but being resilient is okay. It is. Listen, you get tired of being resilient at some point, but as a dad, since we're talking about being a dad, as a dad, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure myself and my son is safe. And I'm thankful for the people and everybody who's rocked with me thus far. But for now, the Daryl show is going to go on a little hiatus for a couple more weeks. I'll probably be back in late July, maybe early August. I'm not really sure yet. But by the time you see me again, we're going to be in a different place. We're going to be in a different place. It's going to be something that I'm just having to work this out. Thankfully, it's working out so far. But I got caught off guard. I got caught off guard. It was surprise. It was a surprise, but the owner and I, we talked about it, and right now I think it's more beneficial for me to just move. And so that's where I am right now. I won't Nothing will be disrupted between myself and DJ and our lives too much. But starting this weekend, I'm moving. So that's why I had to take a season. I had to do a season finale because I had to move, and so that's what's going to happen. Next time you see the Daryl show, it's going to look a little bit different, and I'm going to make sure I come back with more guests. I've already lined up a guest to talk about relationships for when I come back. There's somebody I got to reach out to. I meant to do it. I'm telling you, when you start thinking about stuff, a lot goes through your mind. But anyway, um, I want to talk to one of my friends who owns a school. So I want to talk to her. Of course, I'm bringing Major Turner back. Uh, it's a lot that I have going on, but for right now, I'm going on a hiatus. I'm starting to break this whole thing down right here. It makes sense. Y'all can't see the production on the other side. I can. There's a lot of stuff in here. And so this is probably the most tedious portion of my move is moving my studio. So the studio is going to be looking a little differently, and it's going to hopefully it'll be more exciting, be better, and we're going to have better shows. Okay. So I've been here for almost an hour now. Excuse me. And I'm sitting here drinking my quote unquote expensive water, as my auntie would like to say. So that's it for now. I am going to sign off and I am going to go get me something to eat because I haven't eaten all day long. And yeah, it's been Father's Day. And I'm thankful for being a father. And I'm thankful for all of you guys who celebrate fathers. I really appreciate you a lot. I do. I appreciate my family. I appreciate my friends. I appreciate everybody who reached out today to say Happy Father's Day. Um, and I just want to say I appreciate you guys. I thank you for tuning in tonight. But again, Summer Coast Studios is moving. So that's why we had to have a little season finale. So this is it for a while. Okay. I love you guys. And I thank you. I didn't even put the phone number up. I ain't put the email up. You can email me or anything like that. But I am going to sign off and I am going to get ready for my work day. And so later this week, I got to start doing what I got to do to make my exit. Okay. Still Summer Coat Studios. Still doing what we need to do. Still the Daryl Show. Happy Father's Day, dads. Go get your children. Do what you got to do. Make sure you show up for your father. I mean, for your children, because you're a dad. And children did not ask to be here, so you go out here and do your thing, man. Stop kicking it with everybody else, baby mamas, so to speak. Go be with your own children, man. Include your children in everything you do. Unless you're doing something illegal and dumb, then leave them babies where they are. Okay. I love you guys. I really thank you. And guess what? This is the Daryl Show. Peace. Hey, little Musty. My bad. I forgot. I was too busy trying to get up out of here because I'm off to the next thing. Check this out. I forgot to tell you, I need for you to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys being here. Every time you see this chocolate man with these headphones and this doggone black glasses, you know you're finna get some good quality content. We over here talking with some sense over here, okay? I want you to let all your people know. Tell them to meet me every Sunday night, 9:00 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook, YouTube, every streaming platform you can find. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate your support and I thank you. I'll catch you next time. All right? Peace.